free Palestine. I'd like to acknowledge the monetary today. I recognize that society is never secret, that the land is never secret, and I pay my respects to elders past and present. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land. I'd like to begin by giving out a shout out to the 4 legendary comrades that climbed up the concrete structure of colonialism that is called power and camp. They defied billions of dollars of so-called security systems with their bodies, wearing banners that spoke truth to power and spoke truth on the bloodthirsty history of so-called Australia, not only on these Aboriginal lands, but across nations across the world. Shout out to you for raising your voices, for speaking truth to power and demanding that our government act to end the genocide in Gaza and end its complicity in funding this genocide. You need to be louder than that. Those guys risked their lives, their bodies, everything. Now, 20 years ago, on July 9th, 2004, the International Court of Justice issued a ruling. At that time, the ruling was a profound shift in the narrative and a thorn in the Zionist side, the thorn into a Zionist ethno-nationalist state, the fascist state of so-called Israel. 20 years ago, the ICJ found that the construction of the wall and its associate regime were contrary to the Hague Conventions and the Fourth Geneva Convention. And I quote, "The wall impeded the liberty of the movement of the inhabitants as well as their exercise of the right to work, to health, to education, and to an adequate standard of living." The court further found that coupled with the establishment of the illegal settlements on Palestinian land, that the construction of this racist wall and its associated regime were, and I quote, "once again, tending to alter the demographic composition of Palestinian lands, contravening the Fourth Geneva Conventions." The court also found that so-called Israel's national security excuse to build this wall is baseless, and that the construction of the wall and its associated regime were contrary to international law. 20 years since this ruling, 20 years, and what do we see? We see the Zionist, fascist, ethnocentric so-called Israel continue its ethnic cleansing of Palestinian lands. Just earlier this week, the Israeli cabinet declared to remove the Palestinian Authority from any governance power in East Bethlehem and Southeast Jerusalem. This is the first official move of its kind this year since the Oslo agreements. Israel is preparing to bring what it's doing in Gaza to the West Bank. But this did not happen overnight. This is years in the making. In the last 2 years alone, we've seen an unprecedented settlement expansion in the West Bank, but in particular in Area B of East Bethlehem and Southeast Jerusalem. The wall and settlement expansion are and continue to be a labyrinthian way of the Israeli settlers to annex and ethnically cleanse Palestinians and Palestinian land. It is a psychopathic strategic move. They're slaughtering us in Gaza, they're annexing our lands in the West Bank, and they're silencing us in historic 48 lands. Enough is enough. Enough of the violence, enough of the destruction, enough of the killing, enough of the starvation, enough of the use of human shields. The Zionist so-called state of Israel is a terrorist state, ruled by bloodthirsty psychopaths. Repeat after me. Israel is a terrorist state!
Israel is a terrorist state!
Zionism is terrorism!
Zionism is terrorism!
But here we are, every single one of you standing here. History shows that fascist walls are are torn down. This wall will be torn down. The Palestinians have shown already that this wall will be torn down. Why? Because we are truth. We are true. The Palestinian call for justice is true. The Palestinian call for freedom is true. And like Bassem al-A'raj said, if you are true, you will be revolutionaries and resistance fighters. So speak truth to power. Rise up to fascist regimes. Rise up against our current government that is revolutionary. That is the revolution. That is who you are. Sanction Israel. Embargo any and all trade links with Israel. The very easy demands, and you rising up every single day, picketing, speaking to people, talking to each other, wearing your keffiyeh, raising this flag, this revolutionary flag, makes you speak truth to power, makes you revolutionaries, makes you part of the resistance. Free, free Palestine! Glory to our children, and glory to the resistance. Free Palestine!
Now, Noor is our final speaker for this protest. And I know that some of you always don't come to hear the speeches because we come here to fill the streets of Melbourne. That's right. But it's also important to learn and educate yourself about Palestine. We have a long history, a very, very long history of female resistance fighters, male resistance fighters. That's right. To name one. We have a long history of peaceful protests, female women communes resisting, trade unionist resistance movements. Palestine has done it all. Every form of resistance you can imagine, every type of tactic. For 80 years, everything you can imagine, actually over 100. We have done it, we have tried it. And the world is finally waking up and learning about our history. To be Palestinian is to resist. To be Palestinian is to stand against oppression. To be Palestinian is to not be afraid. It is to have courage, even when you are afraid. To be Palestinian is to stand in solidarity, arm in arm with your brothers fighting in resistance against oppression around the world. To be Palestinian is to recognize that global fight against our Indigenous brothers and sisters here in Nam, here in Kanakland, in America. It is a fight against settler colonialism. And so do not forget, when you come and stand for Palestine, you stand in a long history of resistance. And I like to repeat that, because history matters. Our stories matter. Our people's names matter. We are not just a statistic. Our children are not just numbers. Our land is not just a statistic or a number. Yes. We have stories, we have aspirations, we have dreams, we have hopes. And that is what they fear. So learn your history about Palestine. Get involved in our campaigns. We have tried it all, so we do have something to teach. But we all also have something to learn. Because the global movement supporting Palestine, this is unprecedented. This is historic. And every single one of us who comes out every week, who organises in our communities, who organises in our trade unions, we make history. And it is only time where Israel is history as well. Palestine will live on. From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea.
Palestine will be free.
From the sea to the river.
Palestine will live forever.
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 Thank you, everyone. I just want to quickly draw to your attention. Free Palestine Melbourne have been calling and organising this rally for the last 10 months with multiple allies. But we've also called a snap rally in front of the Labor Party headquarters on Thursday, 6 p.m. We're taking it to the Labor Party to stand with Senator Payman and to ask them, where do you stand? Where is your moral courage and fortitude, Albanese, and the Labor Party? Where is your complicity in this genocide? So thank you, everyone, for coming out this week. We will see you time and again. And do not forget to get involved in your community actions. There is a lot happening. We just had a picket on Electromold and Thomastown, and there is more called. There will be one on Friday next week. Please make sure you come out. There is a lot happening for Palestine, and we will not stop. Thank you, everyone.
على ديني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني على أرض تلاقيني أنا لأهلي أنا فديهم أنا دمي فلسطيني 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 أنا دمي فلسطيني
seekers around. If it's not there, at least you'd know.
I didn't get my email. It wasn't on. FDM it was backed out.
Not every Zionist is Jewish. Not every Jew is a Zionist.